Okay, welcome back. I am going to now go over how to create a customer's account and collect signatures for the e-contract or DocuSign. I'm already logged in, and from this example, we have already clicked Convert to Person Account, so we have some of the info here. We're going to hit Edit on the account, the pencil icon. Basically, a good rule of thumb here is that you need to pretty much put some info in every single field that's here, with the exception of a few fields that I'm going to point out. So the Safe ID, just to go over this, this is like a unique internal identifier. So if you're calling into our contact center or call center and you want to look up a customer's account, an easy way to do this versus giving the customer's name is just to give the Safe ID. And this is automatically generated. And the sale date is going to be automatically generated for today's date. We have to have a valid email address for the customer in order to do DocuSign. DocuSign does check and verifies if an email address is valid, and if it's not, it'll kick back an error. You also cannot use your own email address because it'll only allow you to use an email address one time before it kicks back in for one customer. So we need to double check, make sure the first and last name is still correct. We have to have a telephone number. Social security number can be blank as well. Make sure that our address fields are still correct, and then our cross street. You have to have a cross street in here. And then the second part, everything's broken down into account information, we have address information, these gray lines, into sections. And then the next section is a system information. This is going to be the equipment that we're installing. The very first pick list value is the panel type. So usually just one of those panel type. The next one is just door and window sensors. If there are none, then we would just hit none and make sure that this is none. The next two are pick list of the most common values of common pieces of equipment that we install. If what you see is not on there, then you would just come down to the bottom two are free form, and you can just type in the piece of equipment there. So on this example. Now the next section is emergency contacts. ADT requires that we put in at least one emergency contact. So you would type in a first name, a last name, a telephone number, and a phone type. You can put up to 3 here. The next section is the billing details, and this is obviously pretty important. The first one is the abort code or the PIC, and this is required. The next part is the monitoring plan, and we have the various monitoring plans here, Pulse Tier 1, Pulse Tier 2 and 3, and then a few of the other packages. The monitoring rate will automatically adjust with the plan you choose. It'll only show you the options that correspond to that plan, and you do have to pick one. You cannot leave it blank. Again, the billing type, ACH, credit card, or manual billing. Manual billing, it will only allow you to select that if the credit score comes back as 700 or above. For ACH, you can choose the day. The customer has the choice of the billing day of month. For credit card, you have to type in 1 into this field, but for ACH, you can choose the day. Then we need to put in the bank name, the bank account type, checking or savings. The account number is first, and then the routing number. And if it were a credit card, we would have typed in the credit card number, the credit card type, the expiration month and year. And that's all we need for this. So then we're just going to go to the top right and hit save. Before we do that, I just want to show you these bottom 2 sections are for your use only. This is where you're going to get information about, payroll, is the paperwork been received, it's been audited, and things like that, which we'll cover in a different tutorial. So we're going to hit save on this section. And now from this screen, I can hit the pencil and make any sort of edits I need to, or I can get it ready for signature. So to send it for signature, I'm going to hit the show more in the ellipses down here, and I'm going to hit either DocuSign Pulse or DocuSign non-Pulse. If it's a Pulse account, you have to choose DocuSign Pulse because it includes a rider to the contract for DocuSign Pulse for the Pulse services. If it's not a Pulse, then you choose non-Pulse. It's really important that you make sure you get that correct. So this one's a Pulse, so I'm going to choose DocuSign Pulse. It's going to take a couple seconds, so don't be surprised to spin up and generate the contract. Now, this is where it's important to remember that on your iPad, if it's your own device, that you go to the settings, then you click on Safari, and then you choose and make sure that the block pop-up is turned off, because this is actually a pop-up. You also have to go to the cookies and allow cookies from all sites in order for it to work correctly. So now it's going to tell me, I'm the sales rep, Jay Maurer, please give Jay Maurer control of the keyboard and mouse, continue. Now the very first thing it's going to do is ask you to type in a phone number right here. This has to be the customer's phone number. It can be their cell phone, anyone, whatever phone is easiest for them to answer right then, because what DocuSign is going to do is within 5 seconds they're going to call this number, and then you're going to have to the customer is going to have to type in an authentication code and then say their name. And this is just to make sure that it's the customer signing the contract and not someone else. So I'm going to try to get this going so that you can hear it. Just use this one. So here's the authentication code, and it's ringing right away.
Hello, this is your authentication phone call for your DocuSign documents. Please enter or shoot the authentication code on your computer screen. For security purposes, we will now take a voice recording. After the tone, please state your name.
Jay Maurer.
Congratulations, you've completed the telephone authentication process.
Now automatically it'll take me to the next portion of the screen, okay, which is just saying the customer's consenting, review documents. Now a customer can scroll through and do all kinds of stuff with this, and I'll show you a few things. You know, it has some optional optional initial fields. They are optional. The best way to do this is in the top right is to hit start, because what it'll do is it'll flash for a brief second of where they need to sign, where they have to sign. On the first page, they're going to sign here above customer signature. So they're going to use their stylus or their finger on the iPad, hit adopt and sign, and now it flashed for a second, but they need to initial here. So again, let me just show you that. And now it's going to take me to the next page. Right here, I need to sign. This is the Pulse Writer. I need to click there. I just need to click. I just need to click here on the notice of cancellation, and now it says finish, and I'm finished. Again, I can scroll through all of this if I wanted to, or if the customer wanted to, and just see it. But really, it's not super necessary unless it's something that the customer wants to do. And because you can see there's all these optional fields that they can select. And then there's the equipment sheet and their total and things like that. But remember, above customer signature and then initial underneath the cancellation, right? And then we're going to just, we're going to hit finish. Now this next part is it is going to say to enter in the customer's email or enter in an email address. Just hit continue, right? It's already going to send them automatically an email, so you don't need to type it in again. So just hit continue. Now I need to make sure, or you need to make sure that this completes, right? Don't just hit back or leave the house. Make sure it's completely done. And what you'll see is this document sent. Then you know it's done. It'll also, to your email address that you gave us, send you an email saying the customer signed the contract. It's really important that you make sure that this is completed before you leave the house or do anything, because a lot of times guys will just take off and then they'll lose service or something will happen and it won't actually get finished, and then the contract is lost. So we have to get signatures again. So that is it. You're done. If I needed to, a couple other things. If I needed to, let's go back. Nope, I'm logged out. If you needed to make some changes to the customer's agreement, let's say I just completed it and now the customer's like, you know what, I want some additional equipment, or I want my monitoring rate to be a little bit lower. then you have to go back into their account. You have to hit the edit, make the change, and then you have to hit the DocuSign, hit the ellipses again, and go through that whole signing process again, because the first contract will be void, and it's only going to be the second one that's going to be valid. And so just remember that if you have to make any changes, you have to pretty much go through the whole process again, make the edit, and then click the DocuSign pulse and get signatures one more time. Really simple, not a lot. You just remember to pretty much put something in every field here on the screen. Wait till everything's finished, loading and get the signatures before you move on, and that's it. And thank you, and let me know if there are any questions. Bye.